Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I have a little bit of a different video for you guys. So I recently did a declutter video. I'll link it in the description box down below if you haven't already seen it. And I mentioned in that video that I have a handful of products that I'm kind of on the fence about. I consider decluttering them and then I talk myself out of it, but then I don't use them. And so I decided what I would do is put them into sort of a chopping block situation. I've seen a few different people do this on their channels. I believe Samantha March does this from time to time, and I thought it was a really good idea. So I'm going to share the products with you today that are sort of on my chopping block, and that will be sort of the first half of this video, and I'm going to challenge myself to use them over the next week or so. Today is Thursday, so I'm thinking this time next week. I normally film on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so I'm thinking this time next week I'll film sort of the end of this video where I'll tell you which products I did end up using, which products sort of make the cut and which ones don't, you know? So let's dive into the products first things first. So I have a couple of palettes here. I think I want to keep them because they're more high-end brands, but I truly don't reach for them. So I don't know if that's just because I have so many other palettes in my collection now. These are ones that I had I've had them for quite a while. When I first got these, I didn't have a huge palette collection. I mean, I had a fair number of palettes, but I have way more now because of BoxyCharm and just my general love of makeup. I've accumulated many palettes over the last few years, and these two I just find I'm not reaching for them, and I don't know why. So the first one is this one here. So this is the Smashbox Double Exposure palette. I don't know if they still sell this. I don't know if this was I want to say this was a Christmas thing. I got this as a gift from a client a number of years ago, and I was really excited to have it, and I used it a ton when I first got it. So the color story looks like this. It's fairly neutral. You've got some more warm tone neutrals over here. You've got a little bit more color and cool tone over here. And then you've got a black and a silver, a whitish silver in the middle here. And I mean, you can see that it's been used. I definitely used these two colors a ton, and I definitely used the purples quite a bit. But like I said, I just don't find I'm reaching into it. I don't get super inspired by this palette for some reason. But I thought maybe if I pair it with some other things, maybe if I challenge myself to use this, I'll remember how much I loved it at one time. At one time, this was my go-to palette. I used this almost every single day. So like I said, I'm going to challenge myself to use it over the next week. If I find I still don't reach for it, I'm just uninspired, then I'll declutter it at the end of this. And the other palette is this one here. So this is the Urban Decay Naked Ultimate Basics. This was also a gift from one of my clients. My clients are so sweet. They buy me makeup for Christmas because they know me so well. So this is an all matte palette, all neutrals. I don't know what it is about this palette. I feel like I've had a few times when I've used this that I've had a hard time blending out my shadows. And I think because of that, I'm less inclined to grab for it. But I feel like I have more skill now. I feel like every year I'm better at my makeup, I don't know if you guys are like that, but I just feel I don't know, practice makes perfect, right? And on top of that, I have a lot more brushes now. I have more tools. I'm doing my makeup a little bit differently now than I was, 5 years ago when I probably got this. So again, I'm going to try this out, see how it is. If it's just meh, then I'm going to pass it along. So I'd like to just kind of decide, do I love this or do I not love this? We're gonna see. And then I've got a couple of complexion products. So I did use these ones today just because I had this little box on my vanity and was why not? I definitely think with the complexion products, I'm gonna need to try them quite a few times before I really know. So the first one here is this primer. So this is the Touch and Soul No PoreBlem primer. So this is a smoothing pore filling primer. And I was going through all of my primers, looking at expiry dates, looking at what I had. Before I did my last Project Pan video, I was just kind of assessing the situation. And before I did my last declutter, I do kind of go through my makeup from time to time, see what I have, see what's expiring, so on and so forth. And I came across this primer. I haven't used it in so long, and the expiry is in 2021. So it says November 2021. And I was like, I haven't used this in probably, I don't know, when did I get it? I haven't probably used this in 2 years. It says that it was made in 2018. I got this in a very early BoxyCharm, like really early on when I first started doing Boxy. So I did use this today. It's a very different texture than most of the primers that I prefer. It's very slippery. It has that really slippery kind of silicone-y texture, and I don't know if I like that or not. I just don't. I usually go for more of a hydrating feeling primer, or something a little bit glowy. I don't usually go for that like silicone feel primer, but I did use it today, and I think my skin looks nice. It is first thing in the morning though, and I do have like an oily combo skin type. So we'll see kind of as the day goes on how that wears, if it starts to sort of slide around. I'm just not sure. But we're gonna see about this one. I have a lot, like I have way too many primers in my collection. And because I have a primer in my project pan, I find that's the one that I'm reaching for 9 times out of 10. So I do feel like I need to pare down that primer collection, because those products are going to expire so much more quickly than like an eyeshadow palette, right? So we're going to test this one out over the next week, see how I feel about it. And then I also have this foundation. So this is the Covergirl Clean Fresh Skin Milk Nourishing Foundation, and I have the shade Fair Light. So I've talked about this in a few videos. I reviewed it in speed reviews, and I said then that I wasn't like obsessed with this one. However, I don't know if I dislike it enough to like get rid of it. It's not a super big bottle. I feel like I could use it up relatively quickly. Like I was sort of considering putting this into my project pan when I'm done with my BB cream. And I did mix this today with my e.l.f. foundation that's in my project, and I just don't know. I don't know if I liked the way that that went on or not. So again, I'm going to test this one out over the next week, try mixing it with some different things, try it with some different primers, try it on its own, you know, do all the things, and then decide. I have one bronzer in here. So this was in last year's project pan. So this is the Benefit Hula bronzer. It's just like a mini size. I want to say I got this in like an Ipsy bag a million years ago. And I have a little tiny baby pan. I don't know if you guys can see, yeah, you can see right there, a little baby pan. And I don't know, I feel like I keep this one thinking like it's perfect for travel. And it is, it's tiny, but I find oftentimes when I travel, I'm more inclined to just grab like a face palette that has like a couple of bronzers, a couple of blushes, and a couple of highlights, rather than having all these separate like individual things. And because the pan is small, there goes my fridge again. Because the pan is small, this bronzer is a little bit deep for me. I don't have it on today. I have the butter bronzer on today. But because it's a little bit deep for me, I like to use a fluffier brush with it to get a more diffused application. Otherwise, it looks really dark on my skin. And because the pan is so small, I have a hard time getting a fluffy brush in there. So, and like I said, it's a little bit deep for me, so like the color's a little off. I don't know, it's this tiny little thing bouncing around, so I just don't know. We're gonna give it a whirl over the next week, see if I fall in love with it again. And then I've just got 2 liquid lipsticks here. So I really had stopped wearing liquid lipsticks over the last, I don't know, couple of years, as probably most of us have. But now that I'm back to work full time, it doesn't look like we're going to be closing down anytime soon. We're not having to wear our masks all day, every day where I live. I'm really getting back into my lip products. I'm really excited to wear lip products again. And these are 2 that I just don't really know even how I feel about them. I have decluttered a lot of my liquid lipsticks. I kind of have a handful of brands that I know that I love. And these are sort of 2 like oddballs in my collection. So I have the Too Faced Melted Metallic, Liquefied Metallic Matte Lipstick. And I have the shade You Better Work. Got this in a BoxyCharm. I know, big surprise. And it is sort of a, I don't know, it's kind of a mauvey brown. This is it here. It is metallic, which is generally not my preference for the lips, but it's not sparkly and it's not super metallic, you know, it's kind of a subtle metallic. I don't know that I've ever worn this. I'm sure that I had intended to. So I need to sort of figure out how I feel about it and pass it on if I don't love it. And then I also have this Meet Matte Hughes Long Lasting Liquid Lipstick from the Balm, and this is in the shade Dedicated. I believe I got this from my friend Kate, maybe? I think she might have bought like a set, and this was the color that she passed along to me. And it's a really beautiful sort of raspberry color, really nice shade. I just don't know if I love the formula and if I have other colors similar in my collection where I like the formula better, you know? I'm trying not to have a ton of duplicates, especially I think the last year and a half has taught us that we had too many lip products in our collections, right? So I'm trying to keep that like nicely pared down to things that I just love, you know, and not a bunch of random liquid lipsticks that I don't like and I never wear. So we're gonna see about those as well. So those are the products on the chopping block, not a ton, couple of palettes, couple of complexion products, couple of lippies. So through the magic of editing, I'll see you in a week, but like in a second for you. Hi guys, I'm back. It has been about 2 weeks actually since I filmed the first half of this video. And I have been testing out these kind of chopping block products for that period of time. So it's been about 2 weeks. And I have some thoughts. So I didn't expect to, I expected to keep most of these things, but I feel like now I'm thinking I'm gonna get rid of most of them. So let's talk product by product here. Hold on, they're all in my lap. I look a little rougher than in the first half of this video, I think, because it's been a rough week here, guys. So if I don't seem quite myself, I'm not. Okay, so first off, let's talk about this palette. So this is the Urban Decay Naked Ultimate Basics palette. You saw this already. I don't know why I'm introducing it like you've never seen it before. This is it. So here's the thing about this palette. I want to keep this for all the wrong reasons. So I want to keep it because it's Urban Decay. I want to keep it because it was a really nice gift from a client. I want to keep it for like collector's sake. But realistically in my collection, this is not a product that I'm using. And while I think that this is a fine palette, it's not going to get the use in my collection that it would get from someone else that has maybe doesn't have like 30 eyeshadow palettes. So here's the thing. I have these brown tones in other palettes. I have these more cool tones in, like I have the brown tones in so many palettes. Like these are very common shades. I have these more cool tone colors in my ColourPop Stone Cold Fox palette, and I prefer that formula to this one here. So what I've decided is I have a friend who has repurchased, I think the Naked 2, maybe the Naked 3, I can't be 100% sure, but she has repurchased that palette at least twice because she runs out of the mattes. And I just keep thinking, this would bring her so much more joy than it brings me. And it would make so much more sense for me to pass this on to her and have it actually get used than for me to keep it for the sake of a collection. It's makeup, Jamie. It's makeup. So I've decided I am going to pass this on to her. I think she will be really excited to have it. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I just, like I said, I have these colors many times over in other palettes in formulas that I prefer. I do find this particular palette from Urban Decay, I find the shadows to be very firmly pressed. And for that reason, they're not super easy to blend. And so it's not like a no-brainer palette. And if I'm gonna have an all matte neutral palette, I would prefer for it to be something that I don't have to think about. So I'm gonna pass this on. And then there's this one. So I have all of these products on today other than the lippies. So this is the Smashbox Double Exposure. As you saw in the first half of this video, I have on this sort of gray silver shade all over my lid, and then I did my wing with this navy blue. In my mind, I was keeping this palette for the navy because I don't have a lot of navies, and I really love this sort of raisin color. It's like almost a cool brown with like a hint of a pink undertone. Upon using this for 2 weeks, I can say that while, again, this palette is fine, it really isn't anything special in my collection. And when I went in with this navy today to do my wing, I really had to work at it. It's not the best navy I've ever used, and like if I'm keeping a palette for 2 shadows and like really this is the only one that's really good, what am I doing with my life? I just don't know. So again, I think that this would get a lot of use in someone else's collection. There's some great neutrals in here, some good cool tones. It's a very wearable palette for a lot of people, but now that I have so many in my collection, I just can't get excited about this one. And the looks that I've created over the last couple of weeks, I'll put a few pictures on the screen of some looks that I created using these 2 palettes. And while I like how they turned out, it just wasn't anything special, you know? So I'm gonna pass this one along as well. A product that I have already passed on, I think you're sensing the theme here. So the Touch and Soul No PoreBlem primer that I talked about in the beginning of the video, I have already passed that along. So that formula, when I tried it again, it's so silky, okay? It has that really silky, smooth texture, you know, that really silicone-y kind of feel on the skin. That is not necessarily something that works for my specific skin type. So I'm an oily combo skin, and that really silky feeling on my skin, it just feels like my makeup's sliding right off my face. So my friend was visiting on the weekend, last weekend, and she has very dry skin. And I was like, have you tried this? And she was like, no. And I put a little pump on her hand and she was like, ooh, she has really dry skin. So I just passed it off to her. I think it's just gonna work better for her. I'm hoping she's really liking it. So I did pass that one on already. I have, however, decided to keep this. So this is the Covergirl Clean Fresh Skin Milk. I have the shade 530 Fair Light. I don't like this by itself. It says dewy finish. It makes my skin look dry. It's so bizarre. However, I do really like this mixed in with other foundations. So that's how I've been using it. That's how I have it on today. So I mixed this with my e.l.f. Acne Fighting Foundation. That one is a little bit too dark for me right now, and it's also really full coverage. So I like this to sort of sheer out a full coverage foundation like that. And because this is like a really wet formula, I think I'll probably run through this fairly quickly. So I am gonna keep it. I found a way to use it. I don't wanna let it go to waste, and I don't really know anybody that I could give this to. So I'm just gonna use it up and keep it. The Hula bronzer. So I do have this on today. This one I'm still on the fence about. Like, weirdly, I decided about the eyeshadows, but I don't know why I can't decide about this tiny like sample size bronzer. I have to use a very light hand with this. It is too dark for me. And I have to use a really fluffy brush, which is not super easy to do in this tiny pan. I feel like I want to keep it because I'm like, it's such a good travel size, but truly, when I travel, I generally take like a palette, like a face palette that has like blushes, bronzers, and highlights in it. So you're just bringing kind of one thing. Okay, I talked myself out of it. I'm gonna pass this on. I don't need this. I don't need this. Gosh, why am I such a hoarder of makeup? Why is this weirdly hard? Okay, I'm gonna pass this along. It's too dark for me. It's a weird tiny package. I don't need it. I have tons of bronzers. We're gonna pass this on. And then the lippies. So I had the Too Faced Melted Metallic Liquid Lipstick in the shade You Better Work. And I have the Meet Matte Hughes Long Lasting Liquid Lipstick from the Balm in the shade Dedicated. I don't have either of these on today because we are back into mask wearing where I live, but I did decide of these two, I am gonna pass on this kind of berry color from the Balm. I just feel like I have this shade in other formulas that I prefer, you know, like I like the other formulas better. This one is very dry. It has that really almost powdery, chalky feel on the lips when it dries down. I did try layering a lip gloss over top of it, and I felt like it just kind of broke down the liquid lipstick, so I didn't feel like this layered well with lip gloss. So I am just gonna pass it along. It's not a shade that I'm wearing often, so I don't need numerous tubes of a similar shade. So passing this one along, but I did decide to keep this one. So I'll put a picture on the screen of me wearing this one. And while I don't like love the metallic finish, I put a little lip gloss over it and it gave me like a whole 90s lipstick vibe, and I was really into that. And I really don't have anything else in my collection that's this kind of a color. So because of that, I decided to keep it. It is something fairly different in my collection. And I mean, it's one liquid lipstick. It's not taking up a ton of space. So these are the only two products that I decided to keep out of all of those chopping block products. I'm very surprised. I did not see this going this way. I figured I would probably keep one of the two palettes. I figured I would probably keep the primer. Like, I figured I would probably keep everything but this and maybe one eyeshadow palette, truly, at the end of the day. But here we are. We're surprising ourselves. I just feel like life's too short to like force yourself to use makeup that you don't love. And especially when you have a collection as large as me, it just doesn't make sense. So that's the final decision. We're keeping 2 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2 out of 7. Good for me. Anyways, I hope you guys like this style of video. Let me know in the comments down below if you do, because I could do something like this again in the future. And let me know in the comments down below if you have any products on the chopping block. And if you do, I challenge you, put them on your vanity, use them for like a week, and really see how you feel. It was kind of a fun little experiment, so I enjoyed it. So I hope you guys liked it. If you did, hit the thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon in another video. Bye.